This is going to blow your mind. Are you parenting a little human who has a really hard time expressing their emotions, especially their uncomfortable emotions? Does your little human get really upset, but they don't want to talk about it? You can tell they're frustrated. They might be irritable. They might be snapping at people. They might be easily annoyed, but they don't actually want to tell you what the problem is. There's a much smarter way to help that little human handle their emotions. Hi, I'm Dr. Robin Koslowitz. I am a clinical psychologist, author of the forthcoming book, Post-Traumatic Parenting, a school consultant, and a post-traumatic parent myself. If you like videos about helping our kids deal with their big emotions, click the subscribe button below so you never miss an episode. If you're like me and you really want to learn how to give your kids the healthy childhood you never had, you are in the right place. So today we're going to talk about how to help little humans who don't know how to talk about their big emotions. I don't want to gender this, but in my private practice with my associates, we very often see this with children who are boys. We've seen this with girls as well, but this is a problem that tends to disproportionately affect boys. So if your little human just doesn't want to talk about it when he's mad, he's frustrated, you can tell something's on his mind, but he doesn't want to talk about it. If you have a little girl who just can't tell you why she's so frustrating with something, you're going about it the wrong way. What you're doing is you're accessing the language processing part of the brain, but the emotion is still in the other side of the brain, in the visual side of the brain, in the emotional side of the brain. It hasn't yet made its way into the parts of the brain that can sort it out, understand it, and give it logic and meaning. So what you want to do with that, think about the word emotion. What word do you hear hidden in the word emotion? Do you hear motion? Every emotion has a motion imperative, a motion component. And that's why I can act out an emotion. If I go like this, you immediately know how I feel. If I go like this, you know how I feel. If I turtle up, you know how I feel. Because emotion means it's a feeling that is also embodied in motion. Very often when kids are in school, it's not the time or place to act out the motion imperative that comes with the emotion. And that can be very frustrating. So if you have a child in school and they're really angry because the teacher keeps not picking on them and they keep raising their hand and raising their hand and raising their hand, the teacher's just not picking on them. And very appropriately, the child would like to slam his fist on the desk, yell at the teacher, hit somebody, and doesn't, which is great. Fantastic. That means they've been socialized in what are the rules of behavior in school. Where does all that emotion go? And if their brain is not good at turning emotions into words, then what happens? So what we want to do with that child who comes home from school chronically frustrated, says, I just don't want to talk about it, is we want to play games that allow us to move together with the child or to mirror the child's motion or to react to the child's motion enthusiastically. Some examples and advantages, and this is both my gift guide as well as my hack for this toy. This is the original Stomp Rocket, which we all remember from our childhood, where you stomp on the rocket and the rocket goes flying up into the air. But they've added a brilliant little twist on it, which is you stomp and you catch it with the little net. So it's not just that you're stomping on the rocket, which if you have a lot of emotion to get out, stomping on that rocket can really help. But there's this little net, so I can catch the rocket that you stomped. As we are moving together, you stomp, I catch, you stomp, I catch, I stomp, you catch. As we're moving together, we enter into attunement. Our brains start to sync up. And that little human suddenly feels like, well, maybe my parent actually wants to talk to me. Maybe I could tell them about that really frustrating experience where my friend cheated at sports and I saw them cheat and the teacher didn't believe me when I said it. Maybe I can talk about the time that my friend didn't want to sit next to me at lunch. I really don't get math. I just don't get it. And everybody else seems to get it. And I was too embarrassed to raise my hand and tell the teacher. And now I'm so frustrated. Now that I'm moving together with my parent, suddenly talking to that parent doesn't seem quite as intimidating. And very often, after a solid 20 minutes, half an hour of playing together and moving together, suddenly we can bring up the conversation again. I noticed when you came home today, you seemed a little down. You want to talk about anything? And all of a sudden, the whole story comes tumbling out because that root of emotion is motion, and we need to move with in order to show that child and help them feel felt. Another fantastic game that really helps kids who are, again, feeling inhibited and they just need that spark to get their emotions out. This is Drench. I was one of my really, really, really good toy fear finds. Drench is a game where you fill the can with water and every player passes it around and you shake the can. At some point, one of the players is going to get drenched and you're sort of like anticipating and having that sensation of like, oh gosh, and then no, it's not me. Oh gosh, and then it's not me. Another really great way to move with, to interact, and of course to get silly, because eventually one of us is going to get drenched. Another way of sort of releasing all that adrenaline and cortisol of the day. And now we can talk because we've giggled together, we've moved together, we've looked silly, we've gotten wet together, and now we can talk. Third toy hack that I really love for that child who I need to move with is take any remote control car, doesn't matter which brand, and set up an obstacle course where you put like soda cans and you build some obstacles. Maybe you and the child are working together, creating the obstacle course. And then you have the child navigate the obstacle course using the remote control car while you cheer them on and while you watch, which again can be an opportunity to move together as you're like both tracking the car. Can be really fun, can get a child out of that like low mood funk that they come home from school with. And suddenly they're ready to talk. They're ready to help you. They're ready to help you understand what's going on for them. Finally, another toy I really love for that child who's not talking about, especially a younger one, like a 5-year-old, is whack-a-mole. When we play whack-a-mole and the moles light up and we have to whack all the moles, we're both moving together and we're competing and like who's going to get the moles. Again, moving together, it's fast-paced, there's adrenaline going. Once we've gotten some of our adrenaline and cortisol out through motion together, all of a sudden, talking about our day just doesn't seem so difficult. So the reason your little human's not talking to you when they come home from school is not because you're doing something wrong by asking them. It's not because there's something inherently wrong with the questions or you're asking the wrong questions. It's because you haven't given their brain a chance to discharge the emotions before you ask them about school. Think about it. School is a very strong language load on kids. Your brain has to be thinking in language all day long. Sometimes that's too much language. And when you come home, the last thing you want is to further put your experiences into language. But once you've played a game where you can discharge adrenaline and cortisol and we've moved together and we're attuned and we're in sync with each other and we've had fun together and we've giggled together, so we've lowered some of those neurohormones now, and then maybe we eat something, maybe we have a break. Now it's time to start asking. I like to ask about high points and low points of the day. What was the best? What was the worst? What was the thing you'd like to do again? What was the thing you'd like to never repeat ever in your entire life, no matter what? I love when my kids are like, getting on the school bus and getting to school, like, okay, that one's not optional, but what was the high point? What was the low point? Let's get something that we can actually understand together. The mistake is not asking your kids about their day in school. The mistake is the timing of the question. And I sometimes get asked, will my child feel like I don't care if I don't greet them at the door with how was school? I think your child will feel very felt if they come home from school and they have a snack and they use the restroom and they rehydrate a little. And then you say, let's play a game. Would you like to do Stomp Rockets? Would you like to play Whack-A-Mole? Would you like to play Drench? Because they're going to feel like you were waiting all day to resume your relationship with me, as opposed to you were waiting all day to be the Grand Inquisitor and ask me exactly what happened in school. Because what you are going to get when you ask, how was school? What happened? I don't know, nothing. You're getting that I don't know nothing because you're asking for a lot of language when what you need to do instead is restore motion to unlock emotion, and then we can unlock language after that. That's the way. And this especially works with those kids who they're frustrated, something's on their mind, but they just don't want to talk about it because they don't have language available right now to talk about it. But the faster we unlock emotion by unlocking motion is the faster we'll get to hear what's really going on. And we still may not. The child still may say, I don't know, nothing, when we ask what happened in school. That's okay. Remember that parenting is a marathon, not a sprint and not a race. If Tuesday they don't tell me what happened in school, they may tell me on Wednesday, they may tell me on Thursday, they may tell me on Friday. Eventually I'll hear it if I'm patient and I spend a lot of time moving in sync with the child, making them feel felt, making them feel understood, making myself available that, yeah, sure, I would love to hear what you have to say. And okay, if it's not now, it can be later. That is the way children want to talk. It's not about this moment now. But when people ask me, how do I get kids ready to talk in a psychotherapy session? After all, they have 45 minutes in psychotherapy, right? That's therapy time. It's very golden. We can't waste that time hearing, I don't know, and nothing the entire time. Very often what I do is I start with a cooperative game where we're playing together and moving together, fast-paced, something that we're sending things back and forth to each other. Whack-A-Mole is a favorite for when I'm seeing a little kid, so that we're moving together, we're having fun together, and that's a quick segue into getting a child to talk. So that number one question that I get from parents, how do I get kids to open up in psychotherapy? My kids never talk to me. This is how you get people to open up to you. Move together with them. Language will follow. So if you're a post-traumatic parent and no one tried to talk to you when you were a kid, no one tried to talk you through your big emotions, you were just told to shut down your big emotions and not have them, and maybe you were given the silent treatment, so it's like we only love you when you're having positive emotions. Maybe anger was punished. So no one ever talked you through your emotions. Maybe you were sad, you were grieving, you were mourning, you were traumatized, and no one saw it. You got this idea that grief and trauma is something to be experienced in the privacy of your room and not around anybody else, like you save your tears for the pillow. So now you're seeing your child having big emotions and don't know how to coach them through it. And you've kind of seen in sitcoms like, hi, honey, how was your day? So you kind of think, oh, that's what normal parents do. Yeah, it is what normal parents do in the sense that it's normal in the sense of the statistical sense of the most common thing, but it's not necessarily normal in the sense of normative, that it's the best practice that you can use. Best practice is reconnect through play first. Then we can ask you about your day. Restore blood sugar, rehydrate, use the restroom, play with me. Then we can talk about school. That works so much better than, honey, how was school? I don't know. That just never helps. So if you're a post-traumatic parent and you've been getting the I don't know whenever you ask a kid, how was school, and you feel like you're the worst parent in the world, and people without trauma histories, they know how to do this. Now you know how to do this. If you like this video, please click subscribe below so that you never miss another episode. And if you feel like, oh, I wish this was a Q&A, I wish I could ask Dr. K some questions. I'm a post-traumatic parent. I never even realized that label applies to me, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally am. What do I do about it? You can check out the post-traumatic parenting community. We hang out on Instagram. There are a lot of ways to interact with the community. We have a Facebook group. There's a subscription community. There's a lot of ways to interact and ask personal questions about your post-traumatic parenting journey. You can also check out the Post-Traumatic Parenting podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, the Post-Traumatic Parenting book is forthcoming. Till next time, see you later. Thank you for your attention.